All right, we're going to jump right into it. Hi everyone, welcome. I'm Cara Johnson. I'm the event coordinator for Green Apple Buzz. Thank you so much. Cool. I should have known right away that I would be like very comfortable with this crowd this evening. I was like, oh, I know half of you. This is so exciting. And this is like one of the things I really love doing about my job is that I get to make connections with poets who I get to see time and again, who I get to like say, I don't know, meet here and then get to host their book launch, a few, like a year or so down the line. And that is the case for Giovanna Lomanto, who we are celebrating this evening for the launch of her collection, Driver's Seat Echo. Let's give a proper cheer. She is going to be joined tonight by some legendary Bay Area poets. I'm really excited to introduce. Let's keep it going as we welcome them. Paolo Bicchieri. Kevin Dublin. And Christina. Thank you. I'm really excited. Of course, I should have expected a full house. I did expect a full house, and it really happened. So good job, everybody. You are in the right place tonight. Thank you for joining us here in San Francisco, and also if you are joining us online, hello, online audience. We appreciate you. Online option. We open each of our events with a land acknowledgement. We are on unceded Ramaytush Ohlone land. And we think that acknowledgement without action leaves one wanting, and so we encourage you to either donate your time or monetary means to an Indigenous organization each time you hear a land acknowledgement. If that is of interest to you, we have a QR code at the back desk that will take you directly to the Ramaytush Ohlone Land Trust website, where you can find more on how to participate in this project of rematriation. And as we look toward a just society, we will move present by creating communal spaces and fighting for sovereignty and liberation in Palestine, Sudan, Congo, and our very own backyards. So thank you. Brief business before we get to the heart of the hour. Now is a good time to silence your cell phones if you have not already. I would say picture taking is encouraged. I think that's cool with our poets. It's cool. Okay, picture taking is encouraged. Don't take a call in the middle of reading. That would not be good. Don't do that. The restroom is behind me. It is available after the event and not during the event for obvious reasons. If you need to know how to get there, I will gladly help you. Please do check out our full event calendar online at greenapplebooks.com. I'm going to plug one event today because Saturday is Independent Bookstore Day. Yeah! Outside of Christmas Eve, it is our biggest day of the year. And we're going to be doing some book giveaways. We're going to have poetry on demand. We're going to have a pop-up with the artist behind Young Chaco. I'll show you, they make this really cute little Krabby Cat cartoon figure, and they made like a specific Green Apple logo and merch for us, and it's very sweet. We're going to have tarot readings. We're going to be giving like a bunch of books away. I am not kidding, so please do come and do that. Good ones. And maybe some, I can't speak to the quality of all of them, but that's not for me to determine. That's okay. It's for you. I promise. They're all good. They're all good in their own ways. And a lot more. How'd you get me into this situation? Okay, before I introduce our first poet, I would like to say, please do buy books. You can buy copies of Giovanna's book at the front register. This is the launch event, so what better time than now to buy Driver's Seat Echo than tonight. And you can get it signed, exactly, that's right. And you can also buy books from our other poets. I'm gonna have you do it directly from them. So if you're like, I love this person's work, I need to hear more of it, I need to hold it in my hands, come up to them and ask them, hey, how can I buy your work? Do you have some on you? And like, I trust you to make those transactions yourselves. Good job. Okay. Without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and introduce the first poet joining us. Paolo Bicchieri is a writer living on the coast. He is the author of 3 genre fiction books and 1 collection of poetry. Bicchieri invests in his home region, apparent in his reporting for Eater San Francisco and numerous West Coast publications, including Broadcast Stewart, Brown Girl Surf, and the San Francisco Standard. They co-host the Bay Area reading series Kitchen Table, and their work can be found in Ghost City Press, Standard Magazine, Flash Fiction Magazine, The Racket, and find more at paolobicchieri.com. Please give one more hand.
Everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Cool. I might just actually be like this a little bit. Can everybody hear me okay? I just thought I'd do a little thank you for that. Thanks for coming out, and thanks to Giovanna. Give it up for Giovanna one more time. Giovanna is one of the poets that when we were doing this reading series, Something Ordinary, I just told Giovanna this, that like, I remember when they came on and we debriefed after the show, and I was like, that person just fucking killed it. Like, they're so talented and really inspired me to like be as prolific as she is all the time, like always writing. So glad that there are so many people who agree with me. I'm gonna read some new shit for National Poetry Month. I'm gonna read some stuff from a new project, and then I'm gonna read stuff from my book. And I'm gonna start with a poem that if you fuck with Palestine and Gaza and you support that force right now in this moment, you're gonna like this poem. If you don't, you can leave. It's called Wake Up, Mr. President.
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine, baby! We bleached the coral reefs in the largest extinction this year, and Mr. President, you sleepwalked through the whole party. And Mr. President, you burned the Iranian embassy by way of billions sent to attack dogs on short leashes. And Mr. President, at your age, somnambulent, sleepy, stuffed with oil dollars and octogenarian bliss. And Mr. President, I had another item for you if you have the time. This one about all the side mouth talking and side eye peeping, if you have a moment to address the peanut gallery, those voters without the money to keep your full attention. But Mr. President, have you touched grass lately? Bent below the knee? Court cases don't bode well for Biden, and I don't mean the United Nations frowning on all your profit-seeking and all your puppeteering. I mean number 45 dozing off in the pews as his approval rating soars. Bald eagles battling over bled barrier reefs, stripped seascapes, not even an oyster to pop a pearl into this nightmarish numbing. They're not all that cheery, these poems. But it's not a super cheery time. And again, these are some national poetry, just like shit that's been on the dome lately. This one's called The Tattoo Parlors Howl in Joy as Those Illustrated People Wilt into Portraits. And my second graders tell me the animal of the day is an oyster. And after I sing Pure Imagination, I see Gene Wilder on machines of silver. And since the bomb drop, things have been a lot quieter. Or since the singularity, my Wi-Fi is a lot stronger. Or since the election, there are more outbound boats in the bay full of armaments, oyster. Imagine, flowers don't bloom in the long nuclear dark. But I don't mind the new regime. I love learning new languages. And why not binary now that I've chucked my old categorical mouth in the trash, now that I've bucked the podcasters and politicians, now that I've shucked my last oyster before the oceans boil? Can you blame what survives for shimmying amongst any peonies willful enough to cleave? Who am I to scold the second graders who are shackled to this hot mess? Emphasis on the temperature. Who am I to recombobulate those inked illustrators who surrendered to the microplastics in their bodies in irradiated wind? Can't this election, singularity, bombing, be the rest after all this holding, after all this imagining? I feel like I'm like 80 years old and I'm like, zoom in. This one is from the new project. It's called The Poem in Which Everything is as Subtle Sweet as Pound Cake. What I want is to rip off my jacket and become an actual peacock. I want to let my tattoos skim the air and pull me in 11 different directions. I want there to be a vice that can do the trick, can pull a rabbit out of all this scorched earth. I want to dance until I am just my no-no's shoes, tapping their way along a gin-soaked Saturday at Blondie's. I want to wake up to a house made of butterflies and I don't fall to the ground, but I'm carried on their powerful bodies in 11 different directions, and I won't have to think ever again. And every dead activist in Michoacan would be there, and Jose would smile like it was just a chrysalis he entered, not a jail. And I'd never have to think again, and we'd be wreathed in rosemary and ginger. I want there to be a beat hard enough to cannon the dead from their crypts to corner stores. We'd dance to songs by all the canceled artists who never did those terrible things. We'd carve coliseums from the COVID cadavers, since those souls would be in the streets, and no one would be dead. Or if they're still in the earth, or above, then I want to be there, twisting my body between the butterflies. There's a good amount of home sighing going on, which bodes well for a good night of poetry. Yes, I'm with that. This one is called, I think I can do normal, cool. This one is called, And What If I Say Grace Now So Late in the Meal? To boxes of stones set smooth by the river, what if I prayed to any of your dreams, or to merchant-sold stories of law and order? What if I prayed to a temple of gold and amber, called it something Jurassic, Sumerian? What if I prayed to Nyarlathotep, Thoth, the serpent of Midgard, the dollar bill, George Washington, a demon prince, the queen of Gorgons herself, Satan, Circe's pigs rooting out the loneliness in their Mediterranean troughs, the 47 holy martyrs swimming beneath the ice? What if I prayed to a mayor of aquamarine rather than the red herring who swims in City Hall this very day? What if I prayed to the sweat shimmering off of my skin that I left on the tortured floor of Beauty Bar on Mission Street? What if I prayed to a missionary? What if I prayed to a man caught mid-shame in missionary position? Millions of Mormons drowning Utah like a terrible flood. What if I prayed to the Holy Ghost glowing from my feed, the doom-scrolling made divinity, my destiny mere datasphere? And what if I told you prayer brews in my mind like thick coffee churned on a mountaintop, a daily presence too strong and too high in order, blood too thin, altitude sickness a dizzy seance? What if I prayed to strawberry rhubarb preserves, the ones Nona canned and sealed after Marco died, the ones meant to burn slow like incense over my family's long sorrow? What if I prayed to the revolution? You know, the revolution, the rotation of cindered earth, the swirling of ocean and cloud, the hands reaching for fresh air, no breath, rapture, something like a riot. Oof. Okay, I have two more. I talk really fast, so I think I'm good on time. Just give it up again for Giovanna and for all the yourselves for coming out. This one is called Chaos Theory in the Cold Fall of My 28th Year. It's a big empty house and it doesn't tell me much, but it looks like someone painted it with the jaundiced paper of yellow journalism that makes 2024's misinformation jealous. And what house should I move to so my neighbors can spit on me there? And if I don't pick up and go, does it mean I have to live where I was born? Because it's giving go back to where you came from. And all my great-grandparents were assassinated by their neighbors. And my uncle died after roosting in Ireland after a quick and hard night. So I'm running out of train tracks to thread. Or I'm out of minutes on this long-distance call, or it doesn't look like the light's going to change. So I'm jaywalking from here, wind whistling through the BART station, my eyes rolling back like the oracle my abuela was convinced lived within me. So I cry on the BART again, brain untethered, air balloon over the bay, 80 days floating. So I want to say it with my chest. I want to know where the politicians and lawyers are and have them move to the back. I want to know what a snake looks like. I want to be okay with knowing what a snake looks like. I want to bite back. I want to bob and weave. I want to occupy San Francisco's Wall Street, bombard the Mint. I want to occupy that part of Orion's belt. I want to look like Ariana Grande with a ponytail flowing down my back. I want to look like Brad Pitt in Fight Club and animals sectioned into eighths. I want to be a mother. I want to be a chef. I want to walk out of brackish water and the drops of splashed silt shivering off my hips bloom patches of lavender and fireweed. And this one is called Crescent City, 8:45 p.m. in July. I drink green sauce out the back of a cracked taco shell and your dad's Volvo leaks nostalgia out the sunroof, which is too bad because it is too new and the coast etches on like a painting. And what of honey, cracking out of throats from a highway-crossed bear smudging the barrows. And I want to talk about the smoke that makes the bees syrup their honey into hexagons, the funneling of smog, pipe, baptism of fume. And that inked pressure slathers the streets of Oakland, Brooklyn, Seattle, chopping the blocks into barricades, burrows into beehives, milking pain into laminate, loving a summer with you while the streets shatter. Thank you very much.
One more time for Paolo Bicchieri. R.I.P. Beauty Bar, huh?
Rest in power.
Made some terrible mistakes there. I'm excited. I get too comfortable, Giovanna.
We're all friends.
I'm just joshing and joking, cracking it up. I'm excited to introduce our next poet, who I've also had the pleasure of knowing for a very long time. I'm excited to have Christine No here. Christine No is a Korean-American writer, filmmaker, and daughter of immigrants. She is a Sundance alum, Vona Fellow, Pushcart Prize, and Best of the Net nominee. In 2022, she was the featured literary artist at Kearney Street Workshop's APA Church.
Yeah, she was.
You can find her work in print and online at the Columbia Journal, Story Magazine, The Rumpus, and elsewhere. Her first full-length poetry collection, Whatever Love Means, is available via Barrel House Books. She has some tonight. And she lives in Oakland with her dog, Ruthie Wagmore. Please give a hand to her.
Hi everybody, I'm Christine. Thanks so much for having me. Giovanna, congratulations. Thank you so much for having me to celebrate with you. I love Giovanna's words, I love Giovanna's presence, so I'm honored. I'm honored. Okay, so I'm gonna read a couple of pieces, and I'm gonna launch in because I'm not good at talking here anymore. Alright, Channel Orange. White and orange mornings get me up, keep me standing long enough, sometimes a victory. The afternoon, round and halved, raises my baseline, levels my threshold. When the world is too loud, a peach in my pocket reduces all feeling to the sound of TV in another room. It's a warm thing. I don't mind it. But it's hard to write things down. A price to pay. I don't remember names or things that have transpired before or are transpiring now. The significance of most is lost on me. But I am told this too is the science of the moon and stars and the tiniest neurons firing. I'm not sure what makes sense, is real, is anything. I'm not complaining. It's nice to be here. I used to smoke cigarettes. I think I feel things sometimes, or I know what I should be feeling. I can rattle off a diagnosis. I tried to be a hypochondriac. I should have been a pharmacist. I promise I'm not wallowing. There are words and terms I still enjoy, but I don't think I'm much a writer anymore. Let's go take a notes. I'm going to read you guys a couple of pieces from this chapbook that I made when I first started writing here, and it's called The Disappearing Girl. And yeah, I mean, it was inspired by a breakup and also just kind of starting to be a poet in the Bay. So yeah, all right. End of lease. A whole year gone by. On the anniversary of the death of us, I pushed myself like a pill bug, laughable armor, but brave still, and slept forever. Or wish I did, or wished I did. The dog curled my small concavity. The sun is out now, they say. Spring is here, and I was born 2 days ago. Finally, reason to unfurl. Imagine that, my body, a celebration. Hasty, an acceptance. The days grow long, and I was born 2 days ago, lighter, practically afloat. Winter shed, ache and bone extracted of you. Today is Monday, and I was born 2 days ago. I feel I should apologize, but what for? Okay. I'm so nervous.
You got it.
All right, cool.
Just friends.
Yeah, we're just friends. Yeah, we're all friends here. All right. Okay, this is called Dear Lonely Loner. You know, it's really funny, like, when you're looking at things that you've written, like, I don't know, nearly 10 years ago now. I'm like, I'm not that person anymore, but this is kind of cool too. Alright, so. Dear Lonely Loner, without you, I fall into bed fully clothed, lights on, and wake up too early or too late, rings around my eyes like Saturn. Remember how we used to stay up for days and days, motel room shades drawn, sharing histories a mile a minute, fucking as though we'd die if our bodies disconnected. How I danced high as a kite Thursday through forever. Beautiful from your mouth was my name and mine alone. We had less, but we were happier then, weren't we? The old cliche. I eat French fries and drink soda for dinner, or not at all. You know I hate eating alone. Can you see the falling stars from where you are? It's that time of year, you know, when the Perseid meteors light up the sky, when summer fantastically sheds her corona and the afternoon sunsets creep in. Soon it'll be night by 4 p.m., real soon, before we even know it. I've always hated that about winters on this coast. Dark before dinner time, still hot as hell, traffic worse every year, and Christmas lights on palm trees, so sad. I thought about calling you, if only just to hear the phone lady tell me that I am not welcome, no messages, if only to get the canned text, the canned email that says the same thing, no admittance. Am I your ghost or are you mine? I know where you are, at the intersection of Sunrise and Freeway. I know you're not asleep. I've been sleeping on the couch. I've watched all the space documentaries I could find, even the ones we've seen. The universe is still expanding, won't stop. The stars and balls of gas and planets will drift further and further apart until they explode and dim and fade away. Someday, when days are no longer, it will be a perpetual 4 p.m. winter time on the West Coast everywhere. Do you still drink coffee? I've quit smoking. It'll be autumn soon. So can you see them or not? All that stuff about the time of year and meteors, because I've got nothing. I think I've given up on the stars. Like I gave up on us, you'd say. But I've been searching for you in everything. I still listen for the tide rise of traffic sounds in the morning. At this immeasurable distance just across town, I can feel you still. Do you know how to make it stop? And have you heard, they've invented a new shade of blue. And they've discovered another storm on Neptune's cerulean rotation. Oh, and August 5th is the Mars rover's birthday, and it sings itself happy birthday every year. Everything is much bigger than we are. Look at us, so tiny, so soft and easily pierced. The universe knew we'd fall behind. We weren't meant to survive so long, you and I. The sun is up. You should get going. See what I mean? We've been here for ages now, and could have been for ages more had we tried a little harder, maybe. Sorry about the tangent. I came here meaning to say, so many words to say, I miss you. I won't hear from you. I understand. So does the Mars rover. So do the stars. Yours, the disappearing girl. It's weird walking with your heart out, like walking around with just your heart naked. Alright, and then you get older and then it feels weird. Okay, opaque heart. Opaque heart. Yours is a curated solitude. You've hurdled your grief. The joys of singular witness, a quiet amble, field crickets, Beethoven's ninth concerto of limbs. You'd spent a lonely season downcast, silent. Come springtime, your senses stirred you upright, unfurled your spine from sofa cushion, your gaze again to these once imperceptible delights, led to your chagrin, your drained, opaque heart. You'd evicted it, punted it into the backyard behind the magnolias, ending that dramatic summer. Obviously, it didn't punt far, just behind the greening trees. When the snow melted, there it was, like the first tiny peach on limb, making its telltale heart talk. It had been ticking all winter. Soft, no fissure, warm, bruise-healed, clean. 1901. Dr. Duncan McDougall asserts the human soul weighs 21 grams. The human heart, in comparison, weighs 310 grams, beats about 100,000 times a day. 380,000 years post-Big Bang. Space is vast, opaque, murk, too hot for particle combination. Constant repulsion until temperatures cooled, then hadrons could kiss, collude, and here we are. The last time you looked skyward, through the Milky Way, into space beyond, you sobbed in awe. No longer the night sky you'd known, city orange, pitch immobile, cold. Instead, a deep field, immeasurable. We're here, aren't we? All of us? Beneath such wonder, you'd hypothesized ad infinitum. Sunrise, he hollowed your heart instead. This heart beats more times in a week than it took the universe to flip the goddamn house lights. Meaning any minute now, it too could bulb and burst. Someone assured you once that all things spired from a single point, that all points hold. You wrestle with this archaic principle. Archimedean, he corrected you. I'm aware, you snipped back. You'd rather God, whomever, be less organized, sensibly messy, no absolutes, no point-perfect sphere, no assurances, nothing holds forever. The moon creates waves. The gut feels, the lonely heart makes trouble, promises whole dimensions, rockets to the moon for love, forgets to map away home. Haven't slept alone since. At the loneliness balloons, ache pervasive, your bed a growing ocean. Explain this dichotomy. Inconclusive. Heart failure. Sentimentality is not a science. One cannot propose lack of order based on one weepy examination. Cannot denounce Archimedes because one has failed to consult a protractor. Has his heart been mapped? Its distance from thought? How hot does it burn? Has anyone bothered to cut the thing open? You've seen the star's rotation, Earth's hurdle. You've seen Jupiter, a bright baseball left field of moonrise. You've seen photographs of a black hole's heartbeat flash like a cardiogram, rhythmic, intermittent. According to Einstein, that black hole equals your milky white fist-sized heart. There are daily breakthroughs in cardiovascular astronomy. Measurable data proves hopeful thinking works, though humans intuit less. A lost Odysseus knew to look up for guidance, in fairness at a brighter starfield. Still, how do you suppose he knew? How'd you get so lost during the same? Curator of solitude, here's a thought. Your heart is an unhatched dimension, universe wiser since the Big Bang, less violent, fewer outbursts, an amalgamation of hadrons, fusion ready, excited, strings trembling. Your once tired heart, a patience now, an unfinished prayer, 2 palms open to communion, imperceptible delight, proton finds electron, inside a fantastic combustion stirs, a billion stars pointing home, yours? Your heart, the body's star map, urging the lonely, look up, onward. Oh, thanks. I was just gonna read those two. Should I read another one?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a poem about climate change. Yeah. Our last fight, both of us fucked on acid and the bathroom fan, madness. Someone outside screaming, do you even know where we are right now? De-escalation is a handy trait, but how could you say I love you and mean it? The moment is past anyway, you see it now, don't you love we're history? We did it to ourselves, we saw it coming, the old wives' tale, repeated adage, our mothers unresolved, and jumped regardless. The plumage, the flume, this furnace, these feathers, how cliche. Please don't leave that part out. We were doomed from the start. Disrupted weather patterns, this whole clusterfuck. Hey, future dweller, nostalgic robot. This body, this world, this whole thing is a trap. Nothing thrives here. Don't bother. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. What a treat. You have books on you. Where'd you go? You have books on you.
I do.
You can buy them from here. I'm excited to introduce our next reader as well. Our next reader, Kevin Dublin, is an educator, economic justice advocate, and writer of poetry, prose, scripts, and code. Based in San Francisco, he is founder of the Living Room SF, an incubator for writers and their ideas. He is the author of Eulogy, How to Fall in Love in San Diego, and his words have recently appeared or are forthcoming from Apocrypha Magazine, Conch, The San Franciscan, and more. Kevin has received fellowships, grants, and awards from the San Francisco Arts Commission, Yerba Buena Center for the Arts, Center for Cultural Innovation, Martha's Vineyard Institute of Creative Writing, and so many other accolades that I'm not going to list here. He holds an MFA from San Diego State, an MA from East Carolina University, and a BFA from UNC Wilmington. Kevin believes in you and our collective power to change the world. Please give a hand for Kevin Dublin.
What a joy to be here. Just fantastic. One. Oh, I love y'all. Oh, I love you. Yeah, I'm so excited for this book. Who else right now is super excited? One, for Traverse Seed Echo. Yes, it's here. And two, to hear Giovanna read. I'm like, right? So I had this whole thing in my head. So one of the things I like to do when I make myself write is you just have conversation with poets you love, right? You know, oh, I'm going to pick up a book by Jericho Brown. I'm going to pick up Elizabeth Bishop. I'm going to pick up Marilyn Chin. I'm going to pick up Giovanna Lomanto. And just read a poem and like just write. And I know that somewhere in my like mass of lines are these poems that specifically are like I think it's in. No, it's not in Jupiter. I think it's in Nobody, where there's like a line that's like, oh, it's about falling and falling. Yeah. And then there's another one that's like, I want to be the capitalization or something. And I could not find. I was like, I think there was a line that I wrote that was like, has this, and I was like, oh God, this is. But so instead, I never found it. Sorry, this is the story of my life, like letting everyone down. But. That's life. But what I started thinking about is when I read Giovanna, when I hear Giovanna read, what do I think of? And I think there's a really big part of it that makes me think of a word that I used to like many years ago, did not like. And I would think of it as like universal. And universal is this word that's like, it means this for everyone. Like, there's nothing that's for everyone. But then what happened is I started thinking of it differently. Like after reading, I was like, oh no, I'm thinking of when I read you, when I hear you, I think like this contains the universe. Like whether it's like in this little iota, or whether there actually are heavenly bodies. It's there. So in the spirit of that, I picked some poems that have universe things in them. And I'm just gonna bounce between them. Into an origin story is exit one. I tell this story now because when the time comes, I must be ready to kill or die. Because you must be ready to die or kill. Can you measure your life in units of murder? I remember humidity's rub against the porch screen, how armpits at 13 sweat on a summer midnight. Across the street, a cousin's shadow staggers like a samba, arm around the belly as if he was his own dance partner. Hum of street lamp light innocent until it falls across blood. I knew he knew not to test a straight shooter aiming a pistol over a table of face-up cards and the last remnants of corn liquor. I remember driving a white Honda Civic with student driver written on the back, waiting to turn at a red stoplight onto 301 from Booker-Derry Road. I'm 15. Coach Spraggins beside me reminded me to keep your hand on the wheel now, keep your eyes on the road. As a cloud steps away from the sun, shimmers worn across the veins of a honeybee crawling my left hand as the stoplight flashes to green. She stings me before I even shake my elbow to shoo her away. I pain. I almost cuss. Forget how soft survival is, how warm. I watch the fall of her sad and aware corpse. I remember that all bees share an ancestor who was a carnivorous wasp, the way most origin stories share a common source. Once everything was one, and we were in darkness. We were the darkness. We were deep. There's this belief that the universe knows that this is true. The first images of black holes are all-encompassing darkness pulling in a base ring of light. Nothing escapes the drag of event horizon. Not small stars, nor moons, even planets absorbed and reduced to heavy black singularity. Like a blade tip, no better a bullet. There is a scientific theory which catches up to other origin stories. Some things called mythologies, how the universe began from a single point, and they call it the Big Bang. You, me, all of our stories, exit wounds spilling the desire to be one again. This is a duplex. I'm like, what does, I mean, it's a duplex is a form of poetry created by Jericho Brown, who surprised me, broke the tradition. Traffic's not prayer is wish. Don't let me end up a mural on Bryant Street. Sound of a cheap lighter heating a joint. Hiss like deep inhale from a fresh joint. Large worries can be made small with mouth. Large worries made small in Sunday's mouth. Auntie's lips while they sing, victory is mine. Large worries made small in Sunday's mouth. I dream and sing, victory today is mine. I jelly wiped while walking and while waking before night shift. I jelly gathers in backseat after night's shift. A drop off, a beautiful residue of joy. Traumas, covered in residue of joy. Traumas like a smile fades when pulled over by police. I stroke my son's hair and smile at the police. Lord, don't let me end up a mural on Bryant Street. This is so did anyone here know Neely Tchaikovsky? Right? Beautiful man, beautiful poet. Lost him recently, but didn't lose him. He's here. This is I was like working again, talking about engaging with like poems and poets and making yourself write. I was engaging with some of his work, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna write it. We're gonna like, meet him. I'm like, I'm gonna read this, too. And then as one is odd isn't the word. As one does, you think about time, and you're like, time, or you don't think about time, and you're like, what's that? And things will finish at some point, and then you run out of time to finish them. But you don't, you can still finish them. And so I didn't get to share this with Neely, but I did get to finish it. Elegy for Neely Tchaikovsky. I met Neely within the folded shadow of Coit Tower atop a bed of flowers, and other poets with ecstatic shouts of Ginsberg. I met Neely really with a question that begins an elegy. What did it mean to bring again, to breathe, to carry a pocket full of wolves huddled in a circle? I may have met Neely in Herod's palace in Jerusalem, or at least a desire for Neely between its massive white marble freshly cut from the rock and its larger, later rebel remnants. Yes, there at the center of silver and gold still twinkling in the eyes of a rock pigeon, I met the seeds of Neely in a jar, like fireflies on the brink of lighting. The seeds of Neely and his wishes to be a dead poet, with Charlie Parker, playing in my head and another page flipped towards Revelations. A generation cataloged and encompassed in poetry. Neely, the drunken boat as witness, as food carrier for good poets, yet still marveled by a sunset. Did I meet Neely outside of Vesuvio's on Columbus Avenue in North Beach with poets Scott Bird, Agneta Falk, Dana F. Smith after reading poems in honor of Jack Hirschman and City Likes Books, before talking poetry, politics, national and international, over coffee while Neely thumbed over the edges of a new translation of the Bible? It is new. It is familiar. I met Neely in a gust of alien wind, watching strands of his hair break free from beneath beret like kites, from hatchling spiders catching spring current and sungleam, from Bernal Hill towards the ocean, searching for a part of the coast wildly at peace, where the grass rustles near cliff sides and wave churn and gull call. When there wasn't enough time, I met Neely between the strike of a match and match ignition. A hint of smoke, a tea mug nearly empty, last lukewarm swill, the unfurling of a story quilt over what does it mean to be a poet. I meet Neely in every overcast sky above a San Francisco canyon. The truth is rarely seen. The truth is rarely pure and never simple. I met Neely and I meet Neely like date palms sprouting after 2,000-year-old seeds are dug up in the Judean desert. Neely, like Yakamochi, perhaps waking from a dream, groping for nothing. Neely, tenderly prying open a box of butterflies to count them. When I first met Neely, it was in the mirror, which is how he met me. Now, Neely whispers the truth as a dear friend. It is only the living who make up words, like living, like death, like the end. Maybe one more, and then, yes. And it was funny because I was like, this just happens to be here. I was like, oh, I need to find another poem. I'll bring other poems and figure out what the other poem is, since I can't find that other poem that was supposed to be there and it's not there. And I could try and write that poem, but I don't remember exactly that poem. I should just read the other poems again. And I read the other poems again. I was like, oh my God, I love these poems. But then, Christine was reading, and I was like, oh God. Why have it been so long since I've heard Christina read poems? Like, yes. Damn it, casinos! You're reading, and I'm just like, ooh, I have to read this poem now. And that's probably why it was in this packet, because it is, yeah. Yes, there it is. Each night, an elegy. Each day I move towards some climax and have faith in an ending. This day, another day gaslit by a nation. This ending, mouse finishes gnawing off its own leg to exit a glue trap. Blood slick smears linoleum. Thin pulp trail like a memory. Lover, when lying on our backs in bed and when no other parts of our bodies touch, don't mind my foot hooking around your ankle. I'm grounding to fetch silence beneath cacophony. Scratch of ocean waves against beach from white noise machine as breezes sneak through window weathering tape. I love isolating it. You're breathing. The long and heavy inhale, exhale which never seems to end, tied to another inhale. Each night, distant honks drown out by hum of lamps dropping street light. Incandescent buzz becomes Embarcadero on-ramp whoosh. A Honda Civic's push into wind, exiting the drift from behind a semi-truck, turns into the waves of my sleep playlist on low. Finally, I can focus on your heartbeat. With each faint thump, I know my heart pumps more slowly. Muscles unflex from their work and loosen. It's like the brain does a plank above the body. starts arranging the day and traces memories. The surface of my gums raised from heavy flossing, location of a clothing receipt misplaced in that space as I remember the photo I came across today. My mother's aunt and I, in our only photo together. You took it. The way you could never meet my mother, you met her, alive, though cancerous, she smiled. Still, being alive, she grinned with that curve of upper lip always bent in, ready to say grace. I'm so grateful she taught me to believe I was handsome by simply saying it. Even after 7th grade bullies, busted lips, look, crow, silent and still, staring blankly from lampposts. Even birds daydream. Dear Auntie, your smile was the same after a well-sung hymn, after some well-worded advice in a rhetorical, huh? How many ways can we grow through the power of repetition? I was listening, intently moved by you like a semi-truck's tires on the highway. Where have you gone? My last memory of you asking if I could visit while you lie in a hospice as I exited a BART train in a city 3,000 miles away. Now I'm on the margin of sleep, noticing my wife's foot twitch. I'm breathing more slowly and my heartbeat matches hers. For the few more seconds I'm awake, we keep the same time. I wonder if we all simply move in the same direction. The young heirs who believes the bay is a meritocracy. Ocean tides rise to become more ocean. The galaxy tumbling through intergalactic way. The universe rotating and expanding. Aunt Saritha closing her eyes for the final time. We can't stop moving, any of us. We have traveled from some universal atoms throughout time and space to end up here in human until we make it to the next place. Thank you.
Give one more hand for Kevin Dublin. How does it feel to have Kevin Dublin speak so generously about your work?
The only reason I haven't cried is because my mom's gonna watch me on video and yell at me.
Mom, let her cry. My message to your mother. She can do that to me, it's okay. Kevin, thank you so much. You remind me of what it's like to be a person. I mean it. Thank you. Do you have books on you?
No, I'm bad.
Oh.
But maybe Robin. Robin's not bad.
Oh.
Okay, it's
okay.
Tuesday.
Find some on the internet and find books there. Okay. I'm excited to introduce our final reader, closing us out tonight, the reason for the season, Giovanna Lomanto. Pushcart Prize nominated poet and photographer Giovanna Lomanto, who has published 2 collections of poetry, 2 chapbooks, and a limited edition art book. A recent graduate of the MFA program at New York University, her work has been supported by the SF MoMA, Litquake, KQED, and various reading series around the Bay Area. Her collection, Driver's Seat Echo, is the reason you're here tonight. Welcome, Giovanna Lomanto.
This is so exciting. I am so excited. I also am I'm not regretful, but I'm slightly regretful of the amazing poets I chose because now I'm like, shit, I have to follow that. Oh my god. But I feel like the reason that I asked all of my friends to come here today, everybody here, everybody there on the little camera, hi mom and dad, and also all my friends. And the reason that I invited everybody here today is because I feel like this collection is a lot about feeling lonely in a time when I really didn't really know who I was, because that's why I felt lonely. And I think that everybody here has kind of helped me understand who I am and who I definitely want to be. And so when I'm thinking about writing and I'm thinking about poetry, I'm thinking about how I want to be as knowledgeable and metaphorical as Kevin, and as gut-wrenching and breath-stopping as Christine, and as linguistically powerful and hilarious as Paolo. And I also just really want to give a shout out to all these people, because I think another reason that I invited them here, I wrote them very long emails to ask them to come. I said, like, Christine, you were one of the first poetry readers that I had heard and literally jaw dropped. It was over the pandemic, it was on Zoom, and I was just like, thank God my camera's off. In addition to being on Zoom, as Paolo had mentioned, Something Ordinary was a series that Kevin and Paolo ran, and it was the first time I'd ever been invited to read poetry ever. I screamed a little bit when I got the email, and it was really lovely, and honestly, Paolo, you're the reason that I am at Green Apple Books today, because I came to Green Apple Books for Paolo's book release, and met a ton of people, including Carr, and literally thought, what a better place to celebrate the biggest achievement of my life so far. So, Carr, thank you so much for being in the hands. And Kevin, my partner in crime in the living room, which Paolo so kindly was like, hey, do you want to take over hosting for a little bit? So that was lovely, and it introduced me to most, if not more than half of the people in this room. And I could not be more grateful for all of the opportunities that everybody in this room has given me, offered me, and, you know, allowed me to be me, which is so lovely. Really quickly, do you want to hear a secret?
Yeah.
Well, that's good, because it's the title of the first poem in the collection. I'll tell it in the evening, when the branches break under a snow I'll never see from my apartment window. I want to marry you. I'll dance with you under rain and rain only, your arms a leaning wall that only caves when it's hollow, and your sinews, the bones beneath your flesh and skin, your cradled nerves, I'll hold them. Obelisks in the dark night, horizontal because they're wrapped in tinsel. I'll get the bandages and sweep up the glass on the night we crack all our wine bottles, because we're too thin for our pores cracked open in the steam of our shower curtain as we wash the purple from our teeth. You floss. I forget. I'll remember one day, when we're sitting in the Chinatown dentist's office with bloody gums and crystal smiles, shredded to the walls we build when we can finally buy a house with our own money. A backyard. I've always wanted a backyard. You've always wanted a woman that I can be. I'll tell you the secret when it's time, and I worry that the time is now, that the craters you had to fill were only ever holes in the ground that needed soil, some water, some snow. I'll do it, I promise, but the light is out, and it's time to preface that I love you concrete. I love you figurative. I love you as shards of breath and achy arches for our flat-footed turn around the neighborhood. We walk like our hands are welded. You can't tell me your secret quite yet, not until I tell mine first. I'll burst if you do, shrapnel scattered around the bunny carpet, my organs all warped and littered with cigarette smoke. How did it get into my intestines? I'll quit when I'm done. But before I am, I think the sun has set. I'll tell you. I've never known loneliness until the day I realized you couldn't break me open, crawl inside. I always get a little nervous reading that poem, for obvious reasons. I think it's very personal, and the person who I wrote that poem for is actually recording the entire thing. In a plug, can I ask you to stand up real quick? Because Daniel is wearing a driver's seat Echo sweatshirt that is available. Yes. And the poem that's on the back of it is actually the poem from which the title of the collection is pulled from. Driver's Seat Echo. It's not actually technically in the collection, the words as a collective, but I wrote this collection, and I call it my side hoe for my MFA thesis. If you have known me throughout the process of the MFA, it has been grueling, and it is a very long kind of poetry play project performance thing that is speculative and crazy and lovely, and still looking for a publisher if there's anybody in the owner. But I was just joking. The biggest thing is that A lot of these poems were written while I was just trying to make it through, and I was getting by, and I was teaching a lot, and so I was driving for hours and hours and hours in my car. And this poem's called Gargle. And the worst part about it all is that it passes. A song that roughly translates to what you'll be doing. Your shapewear feels stretched these days, and you remind yourself that you will be in the driver's seat with this echo. And so you remember how it feels for hands to touch regardless. You remember you are 10 feet taller than you anticipated you would be after mortar and pestle took to spine, ground you up, dried tenderly by the strings of your underwear hung in formation. Imagine sold-out crowds and hospital beds. Imagine you get a spot. Imagine that it changes your life and you spend every moment after as a familiar, a ghost running through again and again. Your parents still call you with the same offenses. Sometimes sisters simply don't call you at all. You get the things you wanted, but it's dripping in cheese. You hate cheese. Not all cheese, but definitely the nacho chip cheese that all these unpaid gigs can melt into. You're at a high. You're at a high. You're at the lowest your bank account has been in months. And the worst part about it all is that it passes. And then it comes back again. Some transit-using beast that meets you at the next bus stop as you run, and it's a creep, and you've known too many creeps, so you giggle when you think of the server who stopped you to call you beautiful and disappeared into the kitchens. And you know that it passes. The skyscrapers inhale, exhale into the starless, clear night. The city plays conductor, a song that roughly translates to what you want to hear. Thank you. I also feel like as I'm reading these poems, it's very clear to see how some of the poets in this room have shaped me, and it's in the best way possible, and I feel like it's really beautiful to see how people can impact you in your life, and I thank everybody for being here today. So much. This poem is one, I think it was one of the first poems that I ever wrote for this collection specifically, and it's called Letter Written Again to My Body. Some days are shadowed curves, full glasses of blurred color and packed joints of lightning pulse. Some days my lover tells me about my body, and I believe his generosity. Some days I think about how his predecessors once called my body a plateau. It's true. Turned on its Uranus axis, I think I am away from it. Some days are those vertical drops, those direct garbage shoots. I take a hit of vaporized indigo and inhale my lover, tell him how all of the letters I have written are black and white ink, no soft periwinkle or deep navy to keep company the page. I tell him my muted acceptance of the ways I let the terrain drive the motor, the mouth. He stops me. Tells me to talk to myself again, talk to you again, come to some conclusion where we forget everything. Every skipped meal, every oversaturated step feels like forgiveness, but spurns the thought of never meeting Doris, the nurse who brought your nail polish and a face mask, Kim, the nurse who risked her job to make sure that I had pumpkin body butter on my off days. Some days are handle pulls of highlighted highballs. Those drinks you forget are an uneven mixture of deadly and drowning. Some days my lover tells me that he will be gentle when I am not. My body writes back with thanks. My mouth. Every skipped meal, every last plate I cleaned in its presence. My lover smiles when I lick the spoon of brownie butter. He squeezes my leg when I scoop the crumbs. I laugh wholeheartedly, feeling a lot more technicolor. Aww. Yeah, I was actually thinking about this because today I wore this very special necklace, which I got when I graduated therapy a while ago. Obviously, you go back and you see your therapist again, and I was actually joking this morning, and we were going around at work and we were talking about what books we were reading, and I was like, I read this book called Cat's Eye, and I have a lot to talk about with my therapist. And then as Kevin and Christine and Paolo were all saying, and Car were all saying these wonderful things about me. I was like, maybe I cancel therapy. No, I shouldn't. I won't. See what's 10 a.m. Brianna. But I just thought it was really lovely because I think a lot of these poems were in a place where I was just like desperately seeking help and not sure where to ask. So I'm glad that I now have places to ask and reminders that you can ask, get what you need, and then move on and ask for something different. It's Speaking of which, before all the amazing love poems that are super goopy and make you want to vomit a little bit, there were a lot of breakup poems. Yay! Gross! Oh, I thought you said gross, but I just realized you said growth. Thank you, Dan. So the next 3 poems are actually poems that I wrote while on my MFA residencies, like roaming around the streets of Paris and being like, I don't know where I am. Does anybody love me? This one's called Morning. Bricks and pavement on some distant concrete abstraction. Feet feel entirely arduous on sunny-skied mornings. I heard something creak when I reeled. I dreamt of the fleeting one night, but the constant has never alighted, and I am bitter in the absence. All this to say, I write a lot of nonsense and mostly try to fix the ephemeral. In the end, in the beginning, in the middle, I am just one big cliche stacked on 100 ounces of coffee and 200 ounces of water, feet swollen, shoes worn, down to the soles, up to the flesh. I want to be held like I matter, and sometimes the city's chitter, pitter, prowl is my provider, and the hum, maybe I'm shrouded in the early rays. You say yet when you tell me you aren't in love with me. And I'm too knocked to stand, so we lie there, tucked into palms and knees. The city eats us whole and awake. I am stuck in confines of flesh and sheet. Temptress windows call, and I go for a morning walk. I stretch in the glare, glad to be finally devoured in stone. And this next one's afternoon. In the afternoon, I am blush. Just lipsticked cheeks and post-meal naps. The entirety feels closed. Haze sets in over the river. The clouds rock more than they do roll. Jumping headfirst into shards, they pellet the ground. Ground me into the gentlest of storms. Shell-shocked, I lean against empty arms and find that you are shellacked and scattered, feet red from the walked fires, the stamped out remnants of when my lipsticked blush was yours. We leave in the afternoon. We don't come back. And I nestle myself in the sheets, only my flesh in its confines now. I dream of strangers dancing in the foreground and alighting on some distant brick and mortar penny shop. I count my euros, but buy my first cigarette and share it with one of them. Waking pains come in the aftermath. I am clay. The river is still clear, and my blush runs onto the bridge. And this last one's evening. It is the sky tonight. I scratch the ache until it sings, and I wonder why the starlight runs its finger through the clouds in the same way the sun drapes itself on the horizon these past days. Paris is a fitting place, in that the entirety of it is insular. When I leave, I realize that the strolls I would take were midnight havens, and I only wished I could fall asleep under the streetlights. I dream of the fractals that ensue. Reflections, refractions, reactions, reamplifications, restorations, reifications. The re is only temporary in that the temporal swallows it into a packet of unconscious musings, and it is the sky tonight, and the dreams are tangible, and I will scratch the ache until it sings. If you see fingerprints on the back of this book, no, I'm not sweating. I am sweating a little bit. It's okay. I also, a lot of you, so I also have been kind of ill for the past few weeks. I don't know what the hell happened to my body. The doctors also don't know, but I'm better. But that means that the last time a lot of you saw me was probably at my 25th birthday party. And that was really lovely because I realized then that I was like, oh, all the people that I surround myself with are so kind and gentle, because when I was writing this poem, I wrote a poem called Nobody Likes You When You're 23. Yes, after the Blink-182 song. You are perhaps the most unlikable you've ever been. Oh, no. Even the circuitous skips your turn. Even your mother misses the invitation, and you are at home, and you are just washing yourself, pout in the mirror of your one-bedroom apartment. Your lover watches, interrupting. Neither of you know yet that while you are in the bathroom dancing, your high school reunion is happening in a faraway town. The faraway town is solicitous at times. Other times, like the day you turned 23, it pretends that you were always far away. You were never nested in the neighborhood of the sushi burrito shop before you hit the town's singular overpass. The food stop, the streetlights of your first kiss, all blue-toned and leather-coated. You forget how many hands you've held under the table in the dining room, how many ankles you brushed, The secrecy of adoration, a hidden thought, because you're the most unlikable you've ever been. But that's when you're 17. But that's when you're 23. But that's when you realize that you're just a little bit unlikable. And maybe that's why the circuitous skips your turn. Because it's telling you to hold the pattern close. Realize that patterns aren't always explicable. And know that the faraway town is still singing, no matter if you're there. I also realized that in the past 2 years, I've been so blessed and kindly invited to do a lot of wonderful stories and readings that have just been absolutely wonderful. And I am realizing now that I don't think that this has synced the proper document, but that's okay, let's see what I can find. Because I basically have read a lot of those poems before, or have published them in magazines, and a lot of these poems are really personal to me, but then I forget that people have already read them, and I'm like, oh, but you didn't know that about me, and they're like, I read that online on July 17th. But I basically have a lot of fun things, and I feel like one of the poems that I wrote recently was kind of about losing dreams and finding them again, and the only person I think in this room who has read it is Daniel, because I read him all of these poems last night.
Lucky boy.
I have lost my dreams, and I've built my dreams 1,000 times over, losing them just as quickly. All 1,000 flittered coins in the lagoon rush, arching their backs beneath the unexpected rainfall. Strawberry Creek has never been so full as it was the day they smashed my window, stole my ticket to the museum, and drove away before the lights had even risen that night. I fell into genuflection in the back row of the theater, my knees against the pews, my hands clasped. I knew I'd never be the steward of motion I'd dreamed splayed sideways between crosshairs. Your lisped whisper loses itself every time. I have just one poem left, and then a whole collection for you to take home. If you pre-ordered it, it's on your way. Unfortunately, with the whole SPD disaster, things slowed down. Yeah, I could go over about that for like another hour, but you don't need to hear that. You can just actually look online and read all the articles about it. But yes, I am so grateful to Josh and MJ and Catherine at Game Over Books, who were so kind to take this collection and say, hi, we want to put it in the world, give it a home. And now it looks beautiful, and I am so happy that it is for everybody to read. I am kind of scared though, so please don't be too mean if you text me about it afterwards. But another thing that I've written a poem about this that I've also read quite a few times before, where it kind of goes through like why for a really long time I was like, I don't want to have children in this world. It's crazy. And then after a while, I was talking with Daniel about this. This was like midnight one night, maybe 1 a.m. And we're sitting there, and Daniel just asked me this question. And he goes, are you happy right now? And I sit there and I'm like, Way to ask a question. I'm like, oh my god, Jesus Christ, like, wow, the spot. But I also realized that the answer was unequivocally yes, like, absolutely yes, I'm happy right now in this moment in my life. And his follow-up question to that was, and don't you want to make that for someone too?
Oh.
And that doesn't necessarily have to mean that, like, everybody in this room has to have a child. This mostly means that, like, you can, create children within yourselves and, like, treat your inner child very lovely. And also, just be kind to your friends and be kind to your family. And I don't know. I thought a lot about this, and I ended up writing a poem kind of about the whole journey, which I'm sure you can text me. I will text it to you. It's fine. It's not published anywhere. I'll just text it to you. But the poem that I'm very proud of, that is the last poem in this collection, is called In This Universe, I Named My Daughter Monday. I think a lot of you might have want to hear this. Feeling a little claustrophobic, skittish in the seesaw of a temperature co-occupied on different nights. It was quiet on Sundays, what with a preoccupation for prepping the linens for the Monday rush, But Sunday, the Lord's day it was. Sunday was a breath, and Monday was an outburst. And I think I will name my granddaughter Monday too. She will be called the name of a second, and a third, and a fourth beginning, the antithesis of a finale. Build, up and out, carrier of my marrow and girl of my lineage, reads the sheet music and sings in A minor, a key that's a little somber but fitted to the outskirts of a music sheet, read and played and loved. She will have type O blood. She will be taught nothing of manners, but everything of respect. She will be tricked and trodden, and she will be daughter of my racket and child of my rattle. She will be Monday. She will be squeezed and released. She will be argument over the first day of the calendar. She yells with lungs of excitement and sighs with a mind of unrelenting satiation. And her heart skips so flittingly, it stumbles. Yes, heartbeat is important. Hers will be fast that Monday. Monday speeds by, and before you know it, it's Sunday, and Monday is coming back again, and there she is, again. Out the night, and really quickly I just want to say once again thank you everybody who has come, who is tuned in on the live stream. I know that for a lot of the people on the live stream, they're not even on the West Coast, so they're like, oh, wow. I don't know what time it is for y'all, but thank you. Hope you sleep easy tonight. But for everybody who's here, I wanted to do this thing where like I said, this is a lot about being lonely. I have so many lovely friends, and I know that all of you have lovely friends, and if you feel like you don't have lovely friends, talk to me, because I will write my address on the back of this. I have printed out these little postcards, and they just say, I went to a poetry reading and thought of you. And I would really love it if you sent this to somebody, or handed it to somebody, or put it in a book and gave it to them, or a birthday card, because, oh god, I'm crying. I just feel like it's so important to feel connected, and I really hope that everybody can take this, and you don't have to buy a book tonight, like, that's totally fine. Books are expensive these days. But this is free. Take it home and give it to somebody. If you want to keep one for yourself, you can take one. I printed 50. So, thank you again so much for coming.
One more hand for Giovanna.
Yeah.
We have one more hand also for Paolo Bicchieri and Christina. I read the news a lot, and a lot of news about San Francisco says, like, the city is artless and dead, and, like, what are we supposed to do with our time here? And I know that to be ignorant and false and not true, because we are all here tonight doing the exact opposite of that. And we are celebrating good people and good art, and, like, how lucky are we? We're so, so lucky. I am going to be brief. I am just here to say that we have copies of Driver's Seat Echo at the front register near where you came in. You can find it there. And I am going to have Giovanna at the back desk signing books, if that is cool. The signing line is going to wrap all the way around. I'll tell you where to go. If you don't know where to go, I'll figure it out. We close at 9. Make yourself comfortable until then. We will see you next time. Thank you so much.